As many of you have noticed, we are predominantly users of General Motors sourced products here, vehicles. But we do have some Chrysler products, and of course, you know, my two Reliants that I've had, the station wagon's still around, the good old Black Plague van over there. But there are some other Chrysler products here, so without further ado, let me show you my Chrysler. Yes, folks, that's exactly what you think it is. A Chrysler air temp window air conditioner. You see, those of you who are adults and watch my channel, past a certain age of course, will no doubt remember that all of the major automakers played in the appliance market at some time here in the US. I don't know what name Ford sold theirs under. I know Ford bought Philco, but I can't say as I've ever seen any Philco appliances, just electronics like television sets and things like that that were badged Ford Philco. However, General Motors had Frigidaire, which was not only used as an appliance brand name, but also shows up on some of the air conditioning compressors in their automobiles before Harrison started to appear on them, or even Delco Air, like the one in the 1979 Cadillac DeVille that we have says. And Chrysler had Air Temp. Now, Frigidaire and Air Temp both continue to be offered today, although neither one has anything to do with their original maker. Air Temp actually became a brand of Fetters and might have been discontinued. I'm not 100% sure on that, but Frigidaire is alive and well as part of the Electrolux group, and before that it was part of White Consolidated Industries. Anyway, this thing is an early window air conditioner from the Chrysler Corporation, and I lost the front panel for it, unfortunately. It disappeared in the big basement flood that I had in 2004. I picked this up off the curb around 2001 or 2, and it had a couple of problems. It had molded plug disease, so I went ahead and replaced the plug on it, and of course the curtains had completely rotted, so I made these handy curtains out of cardboard and duct tape, very high-end construction. So that allowed it to work. You know, if I didn't really care about making a fashion statement with my air conditioner, which I certainly didn't, this thing certainly worked very well. It is a model number L06-20H, claims to pull 1,000 watts, 9.3 amps at 120 volts AC, and claims to offer 6,000 BTUs worth of cooling. There's also evidence that Chrysler had intended to produce, or maybe did produce, a heating-capable model of this machine, because there is a heat field right here that has nothing stamped in it because this model is not equipped for heating. And that heating, if it was there, was probably electric as opposed to a heat pump style setup with a reversing valve and all of that. Anyway, I haven't run this thing in a long time because the last time I operated it, and I was operating it on the wiring in the Roach Palace, some of the original wiring, which is probably the mistake I made, something started to smell like it was getting hot, like not quite burning, but that electrical odor that just tells you that something isn't quite right and you better stop operating it. And while I'd say that it was probably the electrical system in the Roach Palace, I didn't really need this air conditioner, and so I just stopped using it at the time. But it still runs quite well. If I kick it up on fan here, you can see the fan start. My guess as to how old this thing is, I would say, I don't know if it could be as old as the late 1960s, but I would say early to mid 1970s for sure. Unfortunately, the serial number no longer seems to be present, so, and it is new enough that it mentions, it implies that circuit breakers would have existed at the time. So I really don't know how old this thing is for sure. Maybe somebody can shed some light on that for me. But it does still work pretty well, although I think a lot of the internal wiring probably ought to be looked at after that incident. Anyway, go ahead and power up the cooling side of things here, just as soon as I've turned it around so you can actually hear the compressor start. It has a very nice compressor sound to it. And there, in addition to a bunch of the crap that's inside this thing, I took it out of the garage and I heard a whole bunch of leaves rattling around in there. There's also a hornet's nest in there. I don't know if I can make that show up any better. Oh yeah, there you can really see it when I kick on night shot. Of course, that overexposes everything. But there were undoubtedly a lot of wasps in this thing. Hopefully they're gone now. Would you look at that? Here comes trouble. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the compressor on this thing.
Don't you pop a breaker, boy. That sounds kind of dry.
Well, it hasn't run in who knows how long. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that this system would still have adequate charge in it. You can see the pinch-off point right there. Don't really know how the compressor came to be white. That may have been one of my less than totally inspired ideas when I was younger.
First glance, I thought it was frosted over.
Nope. Anyway, I'll go ahead and get my temperature sensor here in just a moment. But it's cooling down already. I mean, it's the last I looked at the thermometer, it was 94 degrees out here today, and this thing is already starting to cool, so can't be doing too badly. So here it is. It's been running for probably about 10 minutes now. And let's see what we're down to. Looks like it's blowing about 75, 73. That's the coolest reading I've gotten so far. I'd really expect it to be blowing a little colder than that, although not much colder. Coil's fairly even in temperature. Gets a little warmer at the bottom though. And then over here on the condenser side, let's see what we've got here. It's cooking along pretty good. 126 degrees, 133 and a half. So I'd say it's doing all right, but I really think it could be doing a little bit better than it is. Compressor's at about 120 degrees. All measurements in Fahrenheit, of course. There you have it. An old school Chrysler window air conditioner. Also kicks pretty good when you shut it off.
I love hearing that stuff boil.